So my problem is mostly with Diana and her mother. Diana and her mother's storyline never got resolved because we never had Anne actually save Diana's sister. What we're doing at the end of the play is we're trying to randomly resolve it, but Diana should have been friends back together with Anne already, and her mom shouldn't have had a problem with Anne by this time, but we haven't resolved that because we haven't given her mom any reason to see Anne any differently. Now we just have Diana standing up to her mom when we could have dealt with the storyline earlier.
Actually, I didn't find that to be too big of a problem. There are some people in this world who just don't like you, and it would make a very odd play indeed if the only conflict that we had throughout the entirety of the play was like a small childhood spat, which is then resolved, and then also just her not liking Gilbert Blythe. I think, genuinely speaking, if you're trying to write a play, having Diana's mom not like Anne is actually a pretty reasonable thing. It also shows growth in Diana as well. Because this play is about Anne and about her friends and about who she cares about and about who she doesn't care about, because it is showing these are all the people who help make up Anne's life, make up Anne's world. It's important to note that some people don't like her. And if it is your childhood friend's mom who doesn't like you, that is an extremely difficult thing. Yeah, it's resolved in the book, but remember, this play is going in a different direction. And I don't actually have a problem with Diane's mom not liking her. I think that just adds more of it actually makes the town more realistic, if that makes sense.
The problem with Diane's and her mom's storyline problem is that Moody's randomly at the boat scene. I didn't know why Moody was at the boat scene, and I thought my only thought process was the reason Moody is here is because Diana can't be here. I didn't understand why Moody was here. Anyway, whatever. And also, I didn't like the fact that we ruined the dress 5 minutes after we got the dress. That was like, what? We went through all this thing getting the dress, then we ruin it 5 seconds later, and she doesn't even get to wear it to the thing she wanted to wear it to. I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite either, but also I think that they kind of went, yep, that is actually how Anne is. To be fair, that is how actual kids are. You're going to put a nice outfit on your kid, and they choose to go outside in that outfit for 5 minutes, and then that outfit is entirely covered in mud. That was also on Marissa and Matthew for giving her the dress 5 seconds before the thing. I'm going to be honest. Parenting wise, I honestly could have seen that coming.
To be fair, this is their first time they've parented at all, so they don't know anything.
So honestly, they went, "Oh yeah, I forgot that's what kids do."
There was also, they didn't hire a boy for Matthew, so when they talk about Matthew needing someone to help out, in the book they just resolve it by hiring someone. Not hiring anyone seemed, but wait, how do you plan on doing this? So I was just confused on how they were planning on running anything without a hired hand. It would make sense that Matthew at any time could say, I'm going to hire this person, or this person's going to help me out. It would make more sense for him to say that during the play.
That's not the focus of this story. That the focus is not whether or not they hire somebody for the farm. They could have done that or not. It doesn't matter. That isn't the focus.
But it comes into play later because they're all like, Anne wasn't able to help out with all these things. But I thought to myself, they could have just mentioned that you hired someone to help out. I don't know.
But in this play, they didn't have somebody hired out. That's potentially why Matthew died so young. Not young, but why Matthew died sooner, because he was still taking on the stuff. You could also give Anne a big guilt trip about that as well. That's not what the play's trying to do. It's not trying to resolve all issues. It's not trying to resolve everything in Anne's life to be good. Instead, you just have Matthew looking older and older, and then he dies. And then you have Anne have guilt from that. And maybe if there was a boy instead of her, Matthew wouldn't have died so young. You have to give that level of guilt. If there was some random hired hand around, you could Anne might have misplaced blame on the hired hand for maybe not helping Matthew out as much. Does that make sense?
Although she didn't have that problem in the book, but
Well, this isn't the book. This is a musical.
anyway, I'm not sure I exactly cared for the ending of Anne and Gilbert's storyline, but that's just me. I am a purist through and through, and I didn't really enjoy that ending so much. I think that if you want to say Anne forgiven him, then Anne could have said that. If you want to change it up, which is not the reason why Anne admitted she forgave him, but I thought the fact that if she admitted that she forgave him, I think that would be better because we know that she forgave him in the book and we know when it happened. She admitted it later to him. Hey, I forgave you back then or whatever. I just didn't want to say it to you or whatever. So that line, I wanted that line in there, frankly. I felt like that line would help us put things in a different frame of mind. I
Perhaps
personally like that line in the book. I really like the fact that she acknowledges, hey, I did actually forgive you at a certain point.
with this play, she didn't. She did not forgive.
That's what I didn't like about this play, okay?
She's a very all or nothing sort of person. So when she says an entire song of I hate you, she hates him. And she will continue to hate him until the end of all time. Nothing that Gilbert says is going to change anything. She hates him. She's very all or nothing. She says, Diana is my bosom buddy. And so, despite everything, even if she's not hanging out with Diana, even if Diana's mother hates her, Diana is her bosom buddy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
I
I
think
don't know.
this is
By changing up their storyline, it's changing up slightly the characters themselves,
I
if that
suppose.
makes sense.
Like, I understand that you do like that line and you do that part in the book, but Anne coming at this point and saying, all right, I forgive you now. She could have been softening this whole time, but she would never admit it. And she was in college with him and they were just doing, clearly, they were just rivals instead of I hate you, like her childhood. Like, she's a more nuanced adult than that. But we need as an audience a real clear defining moment. They needed a big moment together in order to do that. In a book, it's a great idea. And you do a flat of, hey, she actually hasn't hated you for an extremely long time. She's just been keeping up appearances. However, in a play, you need a distinct shift because we are only with these people for what, 2 hours maybe?
Sure, but having Gilbert kiss her in this play when that doesn't happen even when they're friends for more on nigh down the road, at
Well,
least
no,
another book, their relationship didn't go from hate to love. It went from hate to friendship to love, and we're missing that key step.
no, we're not missing that step. This is a 2 hour long play. Do you want Gilbert Blythe and Anne to be together? Do you want them to go from, hey, I don't hate you anymore, let's be friends, fist bump, walk off scene, end play? No.
Okay, I have a way you could do it. It's not exactly like the book, but I have a way you can do it. I say they become friends directly right after in the 1985 movie. It doesn't happen exactly the way the book is. That first one has them become friends pretty much right after the boat scene. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. That's when she forgave him anyway. It's when she says, I actually forgave you then. So I'm fine with them becoming friends right there.
Okay, but the problem
Or,
is that doesn't create, this play is going up to a climax, right? You've got your low point, Matthew dies. They're
mm-hmm.
losing the farm. There's nothing they can do. Anne is being sent away from Avonlea, right?
Yeah.
This is an extremely low point of the play. Having Gilbert Blythe come in and he thinks that she hates him, even though we as the audience thinks that she hates him, is much more interesting than if halfway through the play we heard Anne say, yeah, he's fine, whatever. That's not a dramatic ending to a play. Does that make sense?
I guess.
Has been
Guess I.
trying to get to help Anne or be a part of Anne's life for an extremely long time, and she has rejected every single one of his advances. We have seen him be rejected because he said one single thing. She will never forget it. She will never accept it. She said in her song, I hate you, right? Now, how is Gilbert going to resolve that? And Gilbert resolves it by saying, look, I am giving up on my dreams for you and for your love of the island and for your love of your family. And I want you to stay who you are. Like that kind of thing. Even if you were like a hardened person who was like, listen, even while watching the play, you'd be like, maybe Anne should forgive that guy. So you're taking Gilbert's side. And then Gilbert does this, and you're like, at this point, Anne has to like him. And she says, I do. You've broken down the wall. Like she can have feelings behind that. She just had a wall up. And he broke through that wall. And of course, it's in the climax. If it happened before that, all we would see is just scenes of them, I don't know, hanging out. That's not a very good play unless you have something even more dramatic happen later. And they did not give enough time for us to have, for example, a wedding, but they do want to indicate that Anne and Gilbert are romantically inclined towards each other, so they have to have them kiss. Not to mention, it's a culmination of their whole relationship. You don't have to be like, and then they were friends for years, and then he asked her to marry him, and she said no, and then she said maybe yes. Okay, that's going to take too long. They also, I appreciated this, they did not rush them into marriage because that would cheapen this moment as well. We see Diane being throughout this entire thing being together. So if right at the end they were like, anyway, Anne and Gilbert got married, you shock us. We assume that they're going to be friends for quite some time. Them kissing at the end doesn't mean that they're not going to be taking this relationship slow. The play did not race us towards a marriage, if that makes sense. Which is good
But
because
what?
also subverts your expectation, expecting Anne to be like together with somebody, and they're saying that isn't the point of this play. Yes, Anne is together with Gilbert, of course, but this is a huge her growing up from being a child into an adult, embracing her whole life, let go of her childhood. She both has to let go of her bosom buddy and she has to let go of her childhood anger towards Gilbert. Like you can just see her character shift throughout this play, if that makes sense. You can see a lot of people's characters shift as well, and I thought that was really great. It's almost showing flashes of Anne's timeline. It could very well be that the lights are like turning off and then there's turning on again. It's like a small snippet of Anne's life turns off again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm not saying they have to include everything in the book. I understand that they're all snippets in life anyway. I never thought, because I'm for, technically speaking, if they make a TV show, adding scenes in Anne's life. They just have to follow, that makes sense that she would do that kind of thing. Because in the book, it feels like to me, okay, yeah, these are already just snippets. I don't feel like this is every event that ever happened in Anne's life for 3 or 4 years. But I do feel like they have to be believable for Anne to do.
You could also do it based on like how old you have the kid, because they did say that they had different ages for Anne. So you could potentially have a slightly older Anne.
Says for Anne that you have 12 through 21.
That's what I'm saying. If you are switching her to an older version in the next scene, then you would be like, time passed. And if you had the 12-year-old Anne with the green hair, and then you had a middling Anne, like an 18-year-old Anne doing a tea party. And then that 18-year-old one is going through this stuff, and then you have the 21-year-old at the end, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So then you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, we definitely switched. We're older. And then also you'd be like, oh, Diana and Anne have been friends for quite a while, longer than the play would seem to indicate, right? Because if you're just watching the play, you'd be like, oh, they've been friends for 5 minutes. Why does it matter? If you
Yeah.
have age ranges changing, then you would be like, they have been friends for years.
So those are my main drawbacks. I think the play in general did an overall.
I thought accuracy to Anna Green Gables actually pretty high. They definitely changed some stuff. Yeah, the play's not perfect. I know I was defending the play's choices, but yeah, no, some of those choices you were correct. They were not, but it depends on how the author was trying to portray this and did quite a few accurate stuff in relation to Anne of Green Gables. Definitely wanted to show a different side of it and wasn't trying to, I don't think, put their own thing in. They really were just trying to show Anne of Green Gables, if that makes sense. It definitely felt like they really enjoyed the source materials. The problem is I haven't seen it in real life.
Yes, this would definitely depend on the actors a whole lot.
Definitely depends on the scenes that you yourself are watching. So I'm going to give it a 6 only because I haven't seen it. Because some plays are magnificent when you see them on stage, and some are, just depending on who you watch, not as good. So I'm going to give it a 6.5, I think. Yeah, 6.5, because I think it is a really solid foundation. And I think people can be bumping that thing up. You've got a really solid base to work on, and I think that they could do really well. And I think also there's nothing wrong with people personally tweaking a play. So yeah, 6.5, I think.
Now I feel bad because I was going to rate it higher than that. So
Right.
I had all the complaints, but I was going to rate it higher than that one.
No.
I think
Oh,
6.5 is rather low.
listen, the only reason I'm rating it lower is because I have not seen it as a play. And that is the only reason, because I think it would be a lot higher. If I saw it as a real life play, I think I would be like an 8 or a 9. But I have not seen it as a play, which is why it's 6.5, because I don't know how it would actually turn out. You know what I'm saying? I have my own opinions about how that would work. But no, I think it's perfectly fine that you rate it higher. I think it's a good play.
I was going to rate it a 7.5. I personally could see how the play would be very well done. I personally would love to see this play performed. I just am saddened by the fact that I am not seeing this play anywhere.
I also did it a little bit lower because none of the songs were the most amazing song to me. They weren't necessarily like a Defying Gravity kind of thing.
But I think that would maybe depend on your singers. You could get a singer to.
But it's just for me, I was like, these are all good songs, but I would be like almost a little disappointed that Gilbert Blythe and Anne didn't get together. We didn't have enough time to flesh that out. However, it's almost like stopping Pride and Prejudice at the time when Elizabeth and Darcy meet after his letter instead of finishing up the entire play. Does that make sense?
I guess I see what you're saying, but you're talking about a story that resolved in one book, and we're talking about a story that didn't resolve till at least 2 books.
It doesn't mean that the author wasn't capable of getting it all done in one book. They just chose not to.
I'm just saying no one got together in the first book. So what it wasn't that Anne didn't get together with her guy and everyone else did. Like literally no one was together with anyone in the first book. And that wasn't what the first book was about.
It makes sense. I'm just a romantic and I like when people get together. It's fine. Not a big deal.
I am just a fan of all 8 books. And so I like them to stay in their own books. So
We're going to have 8 musical plays unless you're going to write them.
Chat GPT.
Classic situation.
They'll write songs for you too. You can get AI to sing your songs too. All right. That's about it for our review of Anna Green Gables, the new folk rock musical. Bye.